Greetings and salutations, adventurers. Welcome to session 83 of the Spear of Power campaign. This session is titled Mysterious Paths, and man, I really tripped over that. Mysterious Paths. Didn't realize that was such a problem for people with lisps, or can give you one. Anyway, um, you'll understand why as we progress further. I try to do my best to predict what the meaning of the session's going to be, but my players keep me on my toes. Kudos to them. So as a result, the titles don't always match what they wind up doing, but we'll see how this goes. Anyway, to bring us all up to date, because it's actually been 4 weeks since our last session, which you viewers will have no clue about. We were going to review the last notes. So, following the instructions given, the party was able to avoid the assault of a great iron phoenix that guarded the Great Hall, making their way to the platform that would lower them into a grand cathedral wrought of light-emitting crystals. Below, a meticulous, miniaturized depiction of the citadel that you witnessed floating above the desert several days ago stands atop a raised dais. The platform upon which the party stood gently comes to rest in front of this dais. At this time, you notice there are 6 hallways that extend from the central chamber, 3 of which are lighted, and 3 of which that are not. The model of the citadel appears to be a highly detailed replica, exact in every detail with one notable exception that Haig actually is the first to notice. 3 of the 6 crystal minarets that form the outer wall of the citadel are missing. In particular, the 3 missing minarets line up with each of the lighted hallways egressing from this chamber. The 3 darkened hallways line up with the 3 minarets that are in place on the model. Attempts to move or remove the crystals that are present yield no result, and eventually the party decides to investigate the lighted hallways. In doing so, they determine the place to be constructed like a giant wheel, with 6 spokes extending from the central hub where the model lay, and a circular but sharp-angled rim that connects these hallways. Each segment of the rim revealed another smaller chamber, each with a crystal ball in the center, and perpendicular passages to 2 other rooms with empty raised platforms, one extending towards the center of the wheel and one extending outwards. Like the hallways, 3 of the chambers were lit and 3 were shrouded in darkness. Investigating the crystal balls within the lit areas revealed an image to those who viewed, the same image to each who viewed, but different for each area. As the party investigated these crystals and sought to perceive the image within each crystal ball, it was suddenly noticed that both Haig and Redreth were no longer visible nor within earshot. They apparently had disappeared. And that brings us to today's session, leaving our 4 remaining party members, Mizram, Kaeli, uh, Fekish, and a half of the Goliath team, Varric, wondering where the 2 missing companions are. Oh, and of course, we cannot kick off without a timestamp, because we know certain people find that very valuable.
And we didn't see which path they took or anything. We just came in here and realized they're gone.
I guess we can do a perception check for the 4 remaining people and see if anyone happened to notice the last area or hall that they were in.
Yeah, I believe we ran a perception check, and I think Haig was already following me. That was the only reason he saw what happened. He followed me. So
well, let's see. According to my notes, both of you were in the area, and if I look at the map, there is one of you who would have seen you 2 actually potentially disappear. Fortunately, it is our most perceptive member of the party, our ranger. So, yes, we are going to say that Kaylee happened to notice them in the room adjacent to where she's in, and then they were no longer there.
Mizram, are you still ferret-sized and in my pocket? No, you're giant owl. You're giant owl, weren't you?
Yes, I was flying you around, scouting out everything, and we're checking out everything.
Okay. I believe I had dismounted for this investigation.
Yes, you did.
So I am on foot.
Yes, and your ring of flying has not worked for a while.
Yes. So as far as I'm concerned, magic's gone a little wonky in this place. But I don't know that much about magic either, so I just
Well,
kind of shrugged it off.
I would say at this point, not that the time is anywhere near as long as since we've last played, but you have been doing some investigation and looking around, and it isn't just within here, but the 1001 hall doors that you pass through and the garden above, that all seem to have a similar effect on magic. And at this point, Redreth, being the skilled mage that he is, not that he's present at the moment with the rest of the party, but he probably would have discerned by now that it's not an anti-magic area, but that certain kinds of magic have been nullified or dampened. One thing's for certain is any kind of teleportation magic is not going to work anywhere within these confines. And apparently there are a few other kinds of magic, flying apparently being one of them. So I would say that before he disappeared, he was at least able to convey, unless Jim, you choose that you did not share this, but at least convey that there's something affecting magic, but it's not dead in the area.
Yeah, I would have relayed that.
Okay. And I have pretty much seen these two just disappear.
Now,
I'm-
Kaylee
Mhm.
or Alex, have Kaylee roll an insight check, please.
Okay. Finding the roll. Oh, one of my good ones. There we go.
Sometimes I don't think you can even get a low roll.
Well, my modifier is +10,
Exactly.
but I have not
Exactly.
yet. I have not yet gotten. We're not high enough level for me to have reliable talent. So.
Right, but in this particular case, you might have been better off rolling even lower. Not that it wasn't a low roll, but that +10 really kind of tilts things in the other direction. So your insight kind of does you a disservice in this particular case. Whether or not it'll be useful in the long term, the short term is definitely not something you're enjoying, because as they disappear and you start realizing that they've just disappeared, it's like, wait a minute, were they just in there? Where did they go? You're also connecting it with what we just discussed that you heard previously from Redreth about apparently teleportation magic has been nullified within the Citadel or within the areas that you've been in. And you start connecting the two dots. Wait a minute, if teleportation magic has been nullified and they're not here anymore, what the heck just happened to them? And you're getting rather anxious at the conclusions you're coming to.
Yes. Now, as I recall, we have seen restrictions of magic before where my ring didn't work, but the magic of the place allowed certain other flying magic to work.
Good recollection, and you find that somewhat assuaging.
So they might not be dead, but then again, they might be. So yes, I'm going to alert the rest of the group that
My brother might be dead.
no, all I'm going to say is they disappeared. I They were there. I blinked and they weren't there.
And the sequence of events for the party is going to be kind of along the lines that, the three of you. It's not so much that you saw them there and that you didn't see them there, but more along the lines that, the rest of the party kind of noticed, hey, where did Haig and Redreth go? And you're kind of looking around and you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, I last saw them going to this room and there's no way out of this room.
And they're not there anymore.
Right.
And you hear a faint echo from the other room saying, "I'm not dead yet."
You hope.
But yes, I will alert them that this is where I last saw them and they're not here now. I am going to do once I've alerted the group of that, I am going to step into the room and do a visual inspection and see if I can see any signs of, like trap doors or anything, or, other exits to the room other than the hallway I was in.
Well, go ahead and do I guess another investigation check. Yeah, you're befuddled. There does not appear to be any other egress from this room.
So the conclusion is magic made them disappear, but what happened to them?
Mhm. I mean, I know an easy way to find out.
Well, I mean, thinking from the player or the fantasy perspective, keep in mind it could be any number of things. They could be super miniaturized. They could just be silenced and invisible.
Mhm.
There's a lot of other possibilities without even having to invoke teleportation magic. But you are right. You have seen certain magics nullified that still apparently can exist under the right circumstances across your adventures so far, just within the Citadel. So there's any number of possibilities, but how and why they are in their current state, you really have no clue. Because as I said, you didn't see them disappear so much as you saw them go into that room. Everyone said, "Hey, where the heck are they?" And you're like, "They're right in." Wait a minute, they were just here.
Yeah, and I have determined to my satisfaction that I cannot locate any other exits, which means either they're hidden by magic or they're not here. And I'm guessing I probably had to move around the perimeter of the room and in order to make this determination. So
And that is what I am presuming.
yeah. So
I
did
don't want to
not
give I don't want to give too much away, but obviously I am not placing you on the platform unless you tell me you are getting on the platform.
Yeah, I'm not stepping on the platform, but other than that, I did move around the room and determine that I'm not noticing any signs of alternate exits. So yeah, I will come back over here and just gotta like look at the group like now what? How are we
Just
going to find them?
just before we dive any further, just get a quick refresher. Did you say the middle orb in these rooms? Did you say they showed you a picture of an area?
Yes, you are correct. They did.
If I look into that orb, is it like a magical security camera? Can I see if Jim or Regis or Hey character is in the area that it magically showing?
All right, let me double check. Make sure I'm looking at the right one. Because they really didn't do this layout smartly. All right, so that's all right. All right, so I'm going to reread the description both to myself and to everyone listening, and if there's anything that needs to be modified, I will point it out as I go. So within the sphere, in the central part of that area where Ms. and Fekish are surrounding, Mizram sees a young woman kneeling inside a crystal cylinder, her face turned upward, a tear halfway down her cheek. Her lovely oval face is set off by dark almond eyes and by silken hair that sweeps to her waist. At her knee sits a brass ball of curious and intricate workmanship, and, half hidden by the folds of her gown, a crystal minaret lies beside her. She is absolutely motionless. So no, there does not appear to be any change in this original vision or any sign of your companions within what is being perceived.
Well, the owl will look at the rest of the people in the room and go, twitch-woo, and just shrug my owl shoulder like I ain't got a clue.
Yeah, I think we could all agree it would have been reassuring if actually Hagen and Redrith were visible inside the crystal ball, but no such luck.
Okay, so so Kaoli is going to go into the opposite room from the one they disappeared and take a quick look around and see if she can, without stepping on that central platform, she's going to take a look around and see if she can notice anything interesting or useful.
Go ahead and do another investigation check.
I can find my mouse on my table.
And no, you do not discern anything that could potentially be used as a means of getting out.
Okay. Trying to decide whether I want to check the other crystal balls or if we want to attempt to follow them or if we want to try the other room. And those are the most obvious options I see, and I'm not quite sure which one Kaoli would prefer.
Mark is going to vote to follow them.
The question I have for Kaoli, are you going to do it with your own 2 feet or are you going by the power of owl?
And tokens are unlocked, so you guys should be able to place yourselves where you want to go.
That's kind of she's willing to do either. If you want to come with, she's happy to hop back on, and if you would prefer to stay here, she's happy to wait.
No, I'll come with you. I'll let you hop on my back and you can just guide me in which direction you want me to go and I'll comply.
Okay. In that case, I will hop back on and look at Varric and Albie and just kind of like, which direction are we going, guys?
If we think Varric or Haig and Redrith went through, like stepped on the dais and disappeared, Varric's going to need some major convincing to not try to do the same thing.
Well, Kelly is interested in trying something. She just hasn't quite decided what something she wants to try. So if you're just going to start going somewhere, then she's just going to follow you.
Okay, yeah, if there's even a measure of indecision, his mind's made up. He's just going to step on the dais.
Okay,
Good old brotherly connections.
Yeah.
Right. So Varric heads over to the room they disappeared from. So Ms., I'm going to indicate that we should go that way as well.
then I shall do so.
I am going to inject a slight bit of DM, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration here, or maybe
Mhm.
encouragement. It might be more of it. I'm going to presume that the order of events here is not just Kaylee looking around as Varric comes barging in through the door and runs onto the platform. I accept that Varric is absolutely committed to following his brother and understand that Kaylee is exercising her usual degree of caution. However,
Mhm.
I don't accept the fact that that is going to happen without some kind of communication between the two of you. So I'm going to ask the two of you to role play how this happens as Varric enters the room and Kaylee is considering the next option.
Okay, so Kaylee and Mizram are pretty much at the entrance to the hallway from the central chamber, and as Varric comes over to go past, Kaylee's gonna look at him and be like, "Are you sure about that?" Because she's absolutely convinced that that's the direction he's moving. He's gonna step on that platform.
Yep, you know enough about their relationship at this point that you know that's what he's doing.
If he's going in that direction, he's stepping on that platform because that's what he's convinced his brother did. And so I'm just gonna ask him before he gets past Ms. Are you sure about this?
Are you sure that they stepped on this and disappeared?
Are you sure this is a good idea?
Nope. Then I'll step on
All right, and with that,
it.
Mizram and Kaylee, and presumably Fekish as well, witness the second Goliath disappear.
And I'm gonna look over at Fekish and you know look at look at look at Miz, and I'm just gonna shrug with I'm not gonna say anything, but my attitude is absolutely, well, I guess we're doing this.
Then I will hop you two onto the platform with Kaoli on my back.
Okay, so at this point, we're presuming that everyone is indeed following, perhaps not simultaneously. And certainly the first two, Redreth and Haig, went through clearly before the rest of you. So
Mhm.
we're now going to switch our frame of reference to, I guess, primarily Jim, since Dan unfortunately is not with us today. But basically, moving forward at this point is information exclusively for the two of them until presumably the rest of you arrive. The good news is that no, you're not dead.
That's good.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay, excellent qualifier, absolutely. All right, so let's see. So, Redrith and Haig, after stepping onto the platform, suddenly you find yourself standing beside a crystal obelisk 10 feet tall. The runes on its side reform themselves, as others recently have, to read the following: touch me to the crystal minaret, and I will bear you home. There is a stillness here, unusual even for the desert. Not even a puff of wind stirs the air. Stretching to the limits of sight, the sand dunes of the desert roll into the distance, baked by the blazing sun. Not a single stone shows through the glittering grains, nor does a single insect scurry across its surface. In every direction, the burning silence of the sand sea is oppressive and forbidding. The sun beats down like a golden hammer on this parched land, the crescent shapes of the dunes marching into infinity in all directions. Such landmarks as might be visible are hidden behind the shimmering desert air. Welcome back to the desert, folks. But this is you, without even asking you to roll a perception check, you are pretty sure this is not the same desert that you left.
Shit.
So so the person that was seen in the vision in the cylinder is not anywhere around.
Nope, not that you can see.
Okay. Hmm. And are there any now? What was the thing that was right in front of me? Or you said the message that was there?
Yes, it is a crystal obelisk, 10 feet tall. So it's not a
So
miniature
crystal,
one.
like clear?
Yes.
Anything inside the obelisk?
Nope. I wouldn't say entirely clear, but certainly not opaque. So you can see through it, but it's not colorless.
Okay.
I'd say
And
it's probably more like a moonstone or a creamy quartz color.
did you put is the phrase that's on it, is that in the campaign play or channel or
No,
anything?
I can copy it over. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Put it in. Can you put it in the Fantasy Grounds chat?
That'll take me an extra minute or two.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. So campaign play. All right. So I copied the original text into campaign play. And let's see. Not there.
So the message says, touch me to the crystal minaret. Touch me what? The message is on the minaret, right?
No, okay. They're being very subtle with their words, admittedly, but so you're looking for a crystal minaret, which absolutely is probably looks the same in shape as the obelisk that you're standing next to. But the minaret is obviously something that you can hold in your hand as opposed to an obelisk that you're
Oh, so
standing next to.
it's the same thing as as those statues that were way back in the center that has some missing. Is that right? Way back when we first came in, some of the
Correct.
lighted hallways had the statue or the little minaret or whatever sitting pointing towards the hallway. So it's when it says touch me, it means that little statue,
Or
which I don't have.
or the obelisk itself that it's referring to.
Which I don't have.
Correct. I think the suggestion is once
Okay.
and I don't think someone in the group would figure this out, but the suggestion is that once you find the minaret, bring it back here and I'll take you home.
Okay. All right. So if I look out at the horizons, is there any variation in the horizons at all?
No, nothing discernible.
Just sand.
Correct. Let me get the rest of that text also, probably wouldn't hurt.
I would definitely exchange glances with Haig at how still everything is.
Yeah, it's definitely unnerving.
But if there's no variation and we need to go find the statue, I pretty much will just pick a direction and probably start walking.
He would stay with you.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, and there's the text posted into game chat. All right, and so at this point, you really have no. Well, no, I wouldn't say you have no sense of direction. There is a sun in the sky. And if you make the presumption that the time of day is the same as the time of day that you left the minaret, then presumably it's getting close to noon. And you can roughly guess which way northeast, south, and west are. With that in mind, which direction do you want to travel? Which direction do you think you want to travel?
Probably it towards the setting sun. If we're in the afternoon.
No, it's only about where are we at? We're just shortly after 11, so it's just before noon.
Oh, okay, so it's almost straight overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then I changed my mind. If I know which way north is, I'll head north.
Okay, so yes, you can head that direction. And you're going to do so even though it's just the two of you there at the moment.
Well, we're not running; we're just walking. So
Okay, so
yeah, not like we'll be like out of sight if anybody else appears, but just wanting to keep moving.
All right, so we're going to say it takes roughly about 20, about 11 minutes before the group actually follows you behind. And so in that time, we're going to say you spend probably about 2 or 3, maybe as much as 4 minutes getting your bearing, and then probably the next 6 or 7 minutes heading in this randomly chosen direction. So at this point, the remaining 4 members of the party show up. I believe Barak was first, followed by Kaylee, Mizram, and finally Fekish. So you guys pop down, you see the same description that I gave to you, except for the fact that you see 2 figures. Kind of, you can see them still, but you can also see the shimmering heat, visual obscurity, and it's kind of like waving. And so it looks almost a little bit like a mirage. And you can kind of also tell that if you had waited too much longer, they might not even be visible anymore.
There's tracks in the sand though too, right?
There's what in the sand?
Tracks.
Our tracks from walking.
Yep, that's a good point. So and especially the ranger would notice that. So at least, especially since it's still, there's no air, there's nothing, there's no motion. Yeah, there's nothing to cover it up or blanket it away. So you are correct. The tracks would still be visible.
Okay. I'm going to give one of my signal whistles to alert those 2. Wait, no, scratch that. Can I tell from the tracks that it's probably our companions?
Oh, given the size difference of their feet, yeah, it's pretty indicative.
Okay.
Yeah, you see
in
a
that
pair of
case-
Goliath footprints next to a set of elvish footprints.
Okay.
And so in the case of the elf, they're very, very light.
So yeah, I'm then going to let out one of my signal whistles to one of my alert calls. Hey.
And fortunately, sound does not seem to be diminished. Actually, it seems to travel very well in this silent, still landscape. So, Redreth, you and Haig hear a sharp, shrill whistle coming from behind you after you've been walking for about 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Well, we would stop and turn around and wave.
All right, well, he's responding to you, Kaylee. You're going to catch up to him, or you're going to whistle him to come back?
I'm gonna
Presumably, Haig is or Barak is already running to catch up.
If Varric's already running to catch up, then
Yeah.
I'm just going to follow. If he's not moving, then I'm gonna be like, well, should we call them back or should we follow them?
Okay, Paul's in your court, Matt.
Yeah,
Just
I
to,
would. Go ahead.
I was just about to say, just to remind Kaoli, you are on my back, so we would be flying towards them. So we move
Yeah,
quicker
I don't
in the
know.
air.
Well, at least
I
you
would
guys aren't going to
probably-
get scorched feet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Vark would definitely just walk. If they're just walking away, he would notice them too and just walk. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Any divine sense and any weird Fey fiend or undead stinks about this place.
Not just, the amazing stillness. I mean, time is progressing, but it feels like time is standing still here. I mean, there's
Right.
no sense of motion, no sense of life or anything like that at the moment.
Hmm.
Well, but the sun,
Strange.
if you give it enough time, the sun is moving across the sky.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to move to catch up to Redrith and Haig.
Okay. And
Look
so,
at Gale and tell her we're not dead. That worked out. Not dead yet.
all right. So is there any discussion that's going to happen amongst you guys when you catch up, or are we just basically following the two of them until they stop walking?
Well, we'll
Yeah.
we'll walk back to meet up with them since we
Okay.
don't. We're not following something. It's just we just randomly chose a direction and we'll just say north was. We didn't see anything on the horizon, so north was as good a direction as any.
Yeah, right. So from our vantage in the air, can Mizram and I see any distinguishing features in any particular direction?
Let's see. Not a one.
Interesting.
It looks pretty barren in almost every direction. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So let's see.
Just quick question for you, Keith. Did this place give off like a magical feel, like it's like a little miniature pocket domain?
In the sense that this does not feel like the reality that yes. But whether or not it's a pocket dimension, an alternate dimension, another plane of existence, you really don't have that much of a sense. But this definitely does not feel like a slice of reality. There's
Yeah,
something very surreal about it, without a doubt.
but for some reason, I'm getting a desert version of a snow globe kind of feel. I don't know why.
A desert version of what?
A snow
Snow globe.
globe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that impression. All right, so let's see. It's roughly 11 in the morning. And from here, what will we do? All right, so you travel for an hour, travel for 2, for 3, and now 4. Sun's moving across the sky. Heat seems to be heating up, but you're finally getting to a point where it feels like the sun might finally be getting low enough that the energy is relenting. It's not quite heating up as much and might actually finally be cooling down. About 5 hours now. 6. No change in features. Just endless desert in every direction. You're not even quite sure which direction you came from at this point. 7 hours. 8. 9. By now it's beginning to get dark. There are stars. There's a moon you can still see in the desert. But aside from the motion in the heavens, everything below seems completely lifeless, without feature, without detail, without any kind of change. About 11 hours, something happens or something changes. Let me make sure I update the clock. Let's see where we at. All right, I'm not going to go through the details of which order and who does it first, but basically, as you're walking, you all, for lack of a better description, and you will eventually figure it out, feel the sense that you're suddenly not where you were. And indeed, you find yourself standing back in front of the crystal obelisk.
Oh,
Wonderful.
so we're just walking and poof, we're back there.
Yep. After about 10, 11 hours of walking, you just suddenly find yourself back where you started.
Better pop up that tiny hut. It's time for a nap.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we can put that up and take a rest and see if anything changes around us.
Just a quick question, Keith. Do I recognize the stars in the sky? Do they look familiar, or no, not really?
Great question, and no, you do not.
I basically start twitting and hopping up and down, pointing my feathery wings at the sky, hoping that Kaoli will get the hint.
Yeah, I probably would have been looking up at the stars, trying to see if I can figure out where we are almost as soon as we could see stars, because it's how you navigate.
Well, fortunately, as I said, there is still a moon. Not multiple moons on a different colored moon, but still a moon, and it still appears to run across the same path that you watch the sun go across. So in terms of using the sun and the moon to navigate, that is still absolutely viable. In terms of recognizing constellations to provide you more specific directions or time of day or night, that's going to be a lot more difficult.
Okay. No recognizable constellations. Yeah, definitely getting snow globe vibes out of this.
So we're putting up the hut. Yeah, I see Red Dress cast it. You guys get yourself settled within it. No more camels or anything to worry about. Hold on one second. All right. So you get the hut set up. Obviously, not much of interest happens as you're continuing to settle down. We establishing any kind of watch, or for right now, are we just kind of having a confab and maybe breaking bread?
uh, breaking bread, but definitely gonna set up watch before we sleep.
Gotcha. All right. So it hasn't exactly been an eventful day in terms of stuff, what's high stress or high anxiety, at least not since he left the Iron Phoenix behind. You certainly haven't just recently left a chase or some kind of pursuit or some kind of major battle. So overall, you're not exactly exhausted. And I'm going to presume that you guys have enough energy in you that you're going to be staying up a little bit. I mean, not into the wee hours of the morning, but I'm going to presume that, this is a party confab. You feel some sense of safety. There's obviously not much around, and you kind of got to figure out what's going on. So, you guys are staying up a little late to talk and discuss. If there is anyone that is intent on retiring early, please state so now.
I before I do anything, I'll definitely like to examine the obelisk, what we're near, if that's okay. And if I can't find anything, I'd like to dig around it, uh, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sand is kind of difficult to dig around, like most beach sand. You can form a little depression around it, maybe see a little, 2, 3 inches deeper into the sand. But much more than that, the sand just keeps falling in unless you're going to come up with some means to actually displace the sand to another location.
Yeah.
Um, ooh, ooh, Ms., you rolled a natural 20 on that. So,
Oh.
you feel very confident and highly um, acutely aware of what you're looking at. Um,
Oh.
so in this case, there's unfortunately not really much to be described about the obelisk. It is made of crystal. It obviously has some magical properties. It does have the inscription on it that reforms, in your case, to Elvish to state the text that I already shared in chat. But there doesn't seem to be any other detail. As far as digging around it, you suspect that it probably extends pretty deep into the sand. And even if you could expose the bottom, you feel pretty confident that it's even, with if you got all 6 members of the party together, you're not going to be able to move it very much without some kind of mechanical contraption. So there's really not too much to discern on it. You're thinking about alignment, and it doesn't seem to be pointing in any specific direction. It seems to be perfectly upright, so it doesn't seem to have a tilt or a lean in any particular direction. You're being pretty thorough about this investigation, and just nothing noteworthy seems to be coming to mind.
I just puff up my owl chest to rotate my head all the way round like an owl does, and then just sort of spat my head against the obelisk and go, frick it, I'm just going to go to sleep.
Okay, and just roughly, how long after you set camp do you think that's going to be? Are you going to sit down, ignore the party, do a little digging around the crystal, and then go, fuck it, I'm going to sleep? Or are you doing some socializing, maybe, collaborating with the team, doing some mind mapping and thought experiments about what to do next? How, how,
uh,
how involved are you, or should I expect that you're going to be lying down and going to sleep within an hour or two?
it depends on if Kaoline needs my eyes and wings to look around on to fly around on the night time. She needs me to like fly around, just in case something may stick out due to the light of the night. Like how some things, I don't know, like under sunlight you might not be able to see it, but under night time you might be able to spot something. Unless you want me to fly around with her or look at something, I will probably just give up and just be like, "Oh, I'm so out of my element."
So, you said that we just sort of had this sense of displacement, and then we were back at the obelisk. Was there any visual indication from the air that we might be approaching it, or did it just literally just appear?
Uh, let's see. Yeah, there is no indication that there is anything to discern about the area. No event happens, no marker, no indicator. It just, when you reach that certain point, you suddenly are.
Back where we started.
Yeah, let's see. That appears like any other part of the desert. Whenever the PCs blop blop blop, they will be instantly teleported to the crystal obelisk. So yeah, you're not meant to know what triggers it or when. It's just that it
Okay.
happens when you reach a certain point.
Okay.
Now, after drilling down a little bit, we are going to say actually that Mizram winds up. So you guys set up camp at about 10. Mizram probably retires about 11, 11:30. After you guys have had a brief discussion. The rest of you are probably, are we setting up a campfire? It's a cool desert night, not cold, but cool. Presumably you
And
want
it's
some,
climate controlled inside the tent or
Yeah,
the
I was going to say
hut,
that
so
the tent is climate controlled.
okay, well, all right. And you can see out through the tent, but what are you going to do for lighting sources then? Are you sitting in the dark? Are you putting up some
oh,
lanterns or
have
what?
some light.
The
I
tent is
mean,
colored. The tent is colored exactly like the sand too. And as long as they're inside, they can come and go. I just can't leave.
Right.
So
Okay, that makes sense.
I have no particular need for lighting because I'm just gonna kind of um
But to be clear, Jim, you can see outside the tent from inside it, right?
let's see here. One thing, I can command the interior to become dimly lit or dark. The dome is opaque from the outside, of any color I choose, but it is transparent from the inside.
Exactly. So you can see what's going on the outside,
Yep.
but nothing from the outside can come in. So that's actually kind of critical at the moment. And let's see. Um, all right, so actually I'm going to post a question to the party, the
okay.
players, not the characters. We're just about halfway through. I'm ready for my break. I can either present what is about to happen, and you can think about it on the break, or we can just presume that the break represents the hour, hour and a half that you're waiting for something to happen.
And
Um
FYI, I have about 20 minutes and then I have to go.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're going to keep playing until at least that time, and I will just go ahead
yeah,
and proceed. That
sounds like
makes,
a plan.
yep, that makes perfect sense. Glad I asked. All right. So, at about this point, actually, you would say roughly just before midnight, the starlight in the clear night sky seems to change into a beautiful oval face with large, soulful eyes. A voice sings in the wind, calling your name and pleading for help. She says the following. Uh, Post it in chat so you can see it too.
She says post it in chat. Wow,
I,
weird.
I am Sithal al-Husn, a daughter of the Pazar dynasty. I beg you to listen to the pleading of my case. My father, the Sultan, did marry me to the man of my love, Atas al-Din. I was to be presented to him one great, beautiful night. Again, I apologize. Some of this stuff was definitely not aged very well. Original D&D was definitely quite sexist.
Mm-hmm.
On my wedding night, from the shadows of the street, I was stolen by a man whose heart had been smitten by my looks. I had no feelings of warmth for him. He carried me away into the desert. I now await the coming of my father's lancers, with my love, Athis al-Din, at their head. But my captor is strong. Please, free me from my imprisonment. And the, her face disappears. It kind of reforms into normal lighting in the sky and whatnot. But shortly after, so it says, yeah, the vision fades and her face dissolves back into the stars. But shortly thereafter, um, you notice several hundred feet above the ground what appears to be an air lancer with one key difference. They're not dressed in white, they're dressed in black. There's enough detail on them that you can still kind of see them, but they're definitely not as brightly colored as the air lancers that you saw down in Bralazar many, many weeks ago. And as you watch, you see another one. You see the one and it flies off into the distance and it's going in a specific direction. And then shortly thereafter, you see another one. Shortly thereafter, now there's two. Then there's a group of three and then a group of five. And within about 10 minutes, There is a steady stream of these black air lancers all flying in one direction that you can best describe as north-northeast, maybe even more northeast, but that's the direction that they all seem to be flying.
I would do a little happy hop in front of Kaoli, like to get like with excitement, and then lower my back, like to say, "Come on, get on, quick, get on!"
I will get on.
And I will fly in direction and follow them and see where it leads.
I'm obviously chilling in the hut, not let them go
Okay. And
go scout.
Ms., can you remind me what your normal and quote unquote running flying speed is as an owl with her on you?
I should be able to fly due to my size. I should be able to fly at my full speed, which is 60 feet per turn.
Okay. They are definitely quite fast. They actually are able to fly somewhat faster than you, but that being said, by the time you guys get, realize what's going on and get her on your back and fly up to them, they're about 500 feet off the ground. There is a steady stream of them flying. And so you may not be able to catch up to them individually, but you're able to fly up to this altitude and just watch a stream of these air lancers going on by. I'd say you're probably looking at about 60 per minute flying by you easily. And
Okay.
it seems to be endless from what you can see. Presumably you're flying up to them to go check them out, or you just want to get a view from them from a different angle, but at a distance.
I just want to know
I
where they're going.
yeah, I'll try and follow them in the direction, see where they head into. 'Cause obviously, they're trying to rescue someone, so I see where that rescue attempt is.
Well, as I said, they're heading to the northeast for the most part. They are flying outside the distance that you can see. What destination they are going to is not discernible from where you are, only the direction.
Okay.
You can follow them for a little bit if you choose to do so. Maybe as far away as that you no longer can see your people hanging out in the hut or the the externally colored hut. And still, you're only able to discern what direction they're heading. There doesn't seem to be a specific target in that direction. But
Well,
there
Uh,
we can
is admittedly a hell of a lot of them, and they seem to be completely ignoring you.
hmm. It do they kind of like give off a sense of if it's almost like we're in a dream, but we're not in a dream of someone memory.
Well, there's definitely a surreal aspect to it. I mean, you spent a good 11, 12 hours
Hmm.
getting used to this desert being completely lifeless. There's, no activity, no nothing, and now all of a sudden you've got perhaps thousands of these air lancers just in a mass migration to no specific point in, of feature. So it's surreal, without a doubt.
Hmm.
Does it qualify as a dream state or a different state of consciousness? Uh, Again, that's kind of really fuzzy because, you're all agreeing on what you're seeing. There's no discord there, fortunately. But then again, your friends could just be figments of your imagination in agreement with you. They may not actually be
Yeah.
separate individuals. And again, everything does have an element of surrealness to it. You have already confirmed that this is a non-reality space. So, to what extent? There's no way to tell, really. Is it divine? Is it magical? Is it cerebral? There's really no way to discern at this point.
Well, I will follow as best I can till Kaoli gives me indication that we've gone as far as she thinks is worth going, and then we should either keep on going or go back to our companions.
All right, so you
Um,
start.
Yeah. So there are like I can't recognize the constellation, the star patterns, but I can use those star patterns to know which direction we came from.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. You can use it as a relative reference without a doubt.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you're making note of it. I will make note that you're making note of it so that you can help find your way back. That definitely is helpful.
Yeah.
And so you're going to continue to fly in that direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Ooh,
I think he's waiting for me to tell him to go back, and I'm waiting for him to decide to go back. And so we might not go back.
All right, so give me a second. I got to calculate this out because A, you're flying, and B, you're obviously not encumbered by difficult terrain. So according to my
I just imagine
calculations,
2 weeks down the line, you're still waiting for each other to decide to fly back.
um, well, fortunately, I don't think you're going to have to deal with them being gone quite that long. But an hour, you're following them for about an hour. Still going to continue to follow?
Probably.
Okay. We hit 2 hours. No change. Still an endless stream of them heading off to the northeast to a nondescript location. Still going to follow?
Yeah, I am one stubborn owl till obviously Kaoli reins me in.
So after about 3 hours, your persistence does pay off in terms of something different to discern. First of all, you do begin to get an uneasy feeling. You're not quite sure why, but something about the sense of stillness and lifelessness of the area has suddenly taken a sense of something darker or uncomfortable. Can't put your finger on it, but there's definitely, you're moving into an area where that things feel different to you. But most notably, at about this time, after about 3 hours of following them, maybe a little less than that, um, the stream of riders not so slowly, but not quick. It doesn't happen instantaneously, but the stream starts dwindling off and then ends. There's no longer a stream of them. Now, you believe you could kind of see that they were finally heading to something in the distance, and you can kind of see it as some kind of shape off to the northeast still, but the stream of riders has stopped after about 3 hours.
Okay.
Being I know my dark vision is better than Kaoli, I will fly close enough where I think her eyes will be able to get a good enough look, and then I will probably slow down till she get more of a feel on what she wants to do.
Alex?
Um. Once I get a sense that we've reached that they've reached a target in this going in this same direction, and that Ms. is satisfied, I'm gonna indicate that it's time for us to turn around and go get the rest of the group.
Then I shall obey.
Okay. So you begin to fly on back, just as it took you about 3 hours to get there. And it's going to take you about another 3 hours to get back. So where does that put us? And by the time you get back, actually, the sun is beginning to rise. The sky is beginning to lighten in behind you as the hut comes into view, and you land and go back in, and presumably fill everyone in on what you observed.
Yep, I will obviously turn back into an elf for a change because I am probably exhausted and going, whoo, that's some heavy wing action I did there. Oh, the shoulder muscles I built up.
The one case where I just flew in and boy, are my arms tired. Not really a joke.
Literally.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so Redreth, Haig, Varric, obviously Haig's not here or Peckish is not here, but what would be your response or your questions in response to what they're sharing with you?
Did they get a count of how many there were?
Let's just say it's beyond count. Like I said, they were probably witnessing easily 60 a minute for close to 3 hours.
Okay. And you said it's to the northeast. How far away is it? Is it a place we can walk to?
Well, think about it. He flies 60, or the owl flies at a rate of 60 feet, and he spent 3 hours flying in that direction. You guys will only usually travel about 1/6 that distance because of walking speed and difficult terrain.
It'll take a while, but
And we get reset when it's 11 o'clock or midnight or whatever.
Reset, you mean sent back?
To the pillar.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's a function of time?
That's probably what I'm thinking at this point.
Okay, that's fair. Absolutely fair.
I don't know what the rest of y'all are thinking, but that's what I'm thinking.
Just quick question. How long were we actually walking for before we got pulled back to our original location?
We figured it out to be roughly about 11 hours worth of walking.
Okay, so yeah, okay. And I take it Kaoli was doing her best to keep us on track in the same direction for that 11 hours.
She made note that she was paying attention to the star locations and using it as a guide for getting you guys back. So yes.
So obviously, if you walk in the wrong direction in this world we're in, it up to a certain point, you obviously hit the magical boundary and probably get pulled back. I would naturally assume Redress will probably figure that out, being the wizard of the group.
That sounds like a very solidly founded insight.
What do I know?
Redress was thinking time. So if somebody wants to argue a different opinion on that, that's fine.
Well, it'd be easy to prove one way or the other. I was just suggesting that it might not be a function of time. Could be a functional location. It could be a combination of both.
Honestly, with the snow globe vibes I'm getting, I'm thinking Kaoli and Miz are probably strongly considering the possibility that distance has something to do with it.
Hmm. Question we might want to ask ourselves as a group: do we want to stay in here during the daytime and then head back out in that direction on the night time, or do we want to try and find that place in the daylight where we might not have the stars to help guide us as easily?
Given the featureless nature of this area, Kaelali would prefer to make a night expedition. Navigation's easier when you have reference points.
Very true.
I think at this point, most of our stuff has happened at night, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too much of a change of sleep cycle for you guys, that's for sure. It has been smart to adventure at night in this desert, these deserts.
Well, before I get some rest, I will feed my party members some good old-fashioned good berries.
Yum yum. Nom noms.
Thanks.
Nom.
Yeah, I would say the rest of the party probably has gotten some good rest, but definitely Mizram and Kale, you've been flying all night.
It's all right. Doesn't take us that long to get some proper rest. And then, but the question is, are we setting off now, or are we waiting the rest of tonight, all of the daylight, and then setting off once the stars come out tomorrow?
I'm getting the impression from you guys, and it seems to make sense given the oppressive nature of the daytime, that you're going to hang out in the tent until dusk, basically, and then start heading in that direction.
Yeah.
Sound like a plan?
Works for me.
All right, so yeah, just for the sake of argument, we're going to go ahead and say the sun sets around 6 o'clock p.m. So you're going to spend about another 12 hours there. Sun will set, and you dismantle the hut. No, again, no camels to worry about, yay. Then you start heading off in the northeasterly direction. And we're going to continue to state that everything remains eventless and featureless for the first 6 hours that you travel in that direction, at which point you guys notice a pattern emerge. Because at midnight, once again, you begin to see the stream of black air lancers begin to cluster about the sky. And presuming that you're following from below, you notice that the stream continues to run for, again, about another 3 hours before it dwindles and disappears. And by your estimation, you've probably traveled about 1/3 of the distance to where you notice them going, or that Kaylee and Mizram noticed them going while they were scouting from air.
Okay.
While I was in elf form, walking, because unless Kaoli need me to change into animal form, I'll be asking her, go, have you tried to ring in this place, see if it works?
That's a good question, but I'm not expecting it to work. But it is worth a try.
Absolutely. So yeah, you give it a try, and unfortunately, no. No fly.
You see me.
All right, guys,
secretly
I've
with
got to
my,
sign off. I'll talk to you next section.
Okay, yeah, I
Okie
figure we're going to
dokie.
wrap
Take
it up too. So
Sounds good.
you shouldn't miss much. But have a
Okay.
good one, man.
Take care.
I'm about to say, you see me with my fingers crossed, going, please let Kane or like be back on track. And when she goes, no, not working, I'm like, damn it.
Then I'm gonna the pocket that you then I'm going to I'm going to pick up that you wish that you don't want to be my ride. I'll tap my shoulder that you usually ride on as like a silent invitation. If you want to become a ferret and ride on my shoulder again, you can.
I will do so. I will take this opportunity to ferret it up.
You get the impression that Kaelali has decided that she kind of likes having an animal companion who's actually a druid.
Let's just say I am one spoilt druid.
That's you.
All right, folks. Since we are now two, actually three down with Albie and Dan, and now Jim gone, I think this is probably a good point to just call it a shortened session. At least we got some time in this week.
Yep.
And fingers crossed, the next session in 2 weeks, maybe, possibly, hopefully, we will have a full crew on the 16th.
So
I hope
Oh
so.
boy, right before St. Patty's Day. Well, good reason to get into the drinking spirit, right?
yeah.
Start the day off with some D&D and end it off with some green beer. All right, folks. Any last questions, comments, or preparations you want to make before we call it a session? Going once, going
No,
twice.
good sesh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry it wasn't a little bit longer, but yeah, I'm glad that
That's all right.
we still got together since we missed the last session. Again, we will be meeting again on March 16th, so we should be good to go with that. And I'm going to go ahead and end the recording for all the viewers out there. So thanks for joining us, and hope to see you in our next session.